Our last speaker today, our last voice, is Muombamungu James, who is going to discuss with us advancing inclusive humanitarian response for refugees with disabilities. James is an advocate for refugees with disabilities, and he will present how the Association of Refugees with Disability promotes meaningful inclusion in humanitarian and development programs. Please welcome Muombamungu. Thank you.
Thank you, Your Excellencies, distinguished guests, humanitarian partners, fellow refugee leaders, ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon. It is a profound honor and privilege to address to you today at this Global Refugee Forum Progress Review. I'm deeply grateful for the opportunity to contribute on this important discussion and bring forward the voice and lived experiences of refugees with disabilities, voices that too often remain unheard in the global humanitarian space. My name is Muombamungu James, and I'm the Executive Director for the Association of Refugees with Disability, ARD, in Uganda, a refugee-led organization dedicated to promote the rights, dignity, and meaningful inclusion of refugees with disabilities in Uganda. On behalf of the Association of Refugees with Disability, ARD, and the communities we work with, I extend my sincere appreciation for this platform to reflect on progress, highlight persistent challenges, and collectively advance more inclusive solutions for all refugees, including persons with disabilities. At the Association of Refugees with Disability, ARD, our mission is built around three core pillars. First, we empower refugees with disabilities by enhancing their participation in humanitarian response and improve their access to essential services. Through awareness raising, rehabilitation supports, and community outreaches, we help refugees with disabilities overcome the barriers that limit their full inclusion. Secondly, we invest heavily in capacity building. The Association of Refugees with Disability, ARD, trains humanitarian partners, including international NGOs, local NGOs, government bodies, and community structures on disability inclusion as far as refugees with disabilities are concerned. This helps ensure that programs and services across sectors are responsive to unique needs of refugees with disabilities. Thirdly, we advocate for disability inclusive programming within all areas of refugee response, whether in education, health, protection, WASH, livelihood, or emergency interventions. Our message remains clear. Inclusion is a right and a must be embedded in all humanitarian actions. Despite ongoing efforts, we are witnessing serious setbacks. The recent cuts in humanitarian assistance, especially food and cash support, have affected all refugees, but they have disproportionately impacted refugees with disabilities. For many families with disabilities, this assistance was not merely a supplementary resource. It was the foundation of their survival. It supported education, healthcare access, and basic daily needs. I speak today from experience. When I was still in high school, I used this support to pay my school fees, buy my uniform, and meet all school requirements. Without that assistance, my education would not have been possible, and today I could not stand here in front of you speaking on behalf of refugees with disabilities. Now today, that lifeline has been cut, and now from many refugees with disabilities. So we can take that image and reflect on where other refugees with disabilities are. Today, even those who were fully dependent on this support have been removed from assistance programs. The criteria used for targeting and prioritization do not reflect specific realities of disability. For example, a family may lose assistance because one member earns a small income, yet the person with a disability in that household often has no access to that income. Households headed by persons with disabilities or families with young children living under the vulnerability of parents with disabilities are not sufficiently considered. The main livelihood activity in the settlements, like in Uganda where we do not have refugee camps, is digging or agricultural labor, which is not feasible for many refugees with disabilities, yet they are still expected to achieve a living. Assistive devices such as wheelchair, crutches, hearing aids, and prosthetic essentials, items that support mobility and independence, are rarely prioritized in crisis response. Yet, without these, a person with disability may not be able to even move, and these realities are pushing refugees with disability deeper in poverty, isolation, and dignity. Refugee-led organizations like the Association of Refugees with Disability, ARD, often become the primary responders when services disappear. Yet, globally, refugee-led organizations receive less than 1% of the humanitarian funding, creating a stark gap between responsibility and resources, and more so for refugee-led organizations for persons with disabilities. Despite this, we continue to provide support, advocate for inclusion, and ensure that refugees with disabilities are not left behind. The current crisis invites us to reflect deeply on our approaches to supporting refugees, including refugees with disabilities. For many years, humanitarian assistance has played a central role in meeting basic needs, yet one crisis has exposed the fragility of these systems, especially for persons with disabilities, showing that long-term resilience has not been adequately built. We must ask ourselves, how can we support refugees, including those with disabilities, in a way that goes beyond charity and promote real empowerment and self-reliance? Refugees with disabilities are not a homogeneous group. Their needs vary from age, gender, type of disability, and living conditions. Therefore, our interventions must be tailored and inclusive. At the recent Global Disability Summit that was in April in German, Berlin, strong commitments were made towards disability inclusion. And to fulfill these commitments within refugee context, we must ensure that food assistance and social protection system use disability responsive criteria. There is need to provide accessible quality assistive devices as part of essential humanitarian support. There is need to expand livelihood programs that are inclusive and adaptable to diverse disabilities, strengthen funding opportunities for refugee-led organizations of persons with disabilities who are currently left behind, ensure refugees with disabilities are not excluded from complementary pathways such as scholarships, employment opportunities, and resettlements. Recognize refugee-led organizations for persons with disabilities like the Association of Refugees with Disability, ARD, as equal partners in humanitarian coordination and decision-making. The Association of Refugees with Disability, ARD, remains fully committed to collaborating with partners, donors, and government stakeholders to advance the full inclusion of refugees with disabilities across all programs and sectors. If disability inclusive programming is not put at the center of interventions in refugee context, meaningful participation of refugees with disabilities will still be unseen, and we shall have left many refugees with disabilities behind. In conclusion, inclusion is not an act of negotiation. It is a responsibility, a right, and a moral obligation. As we review the global progress today, the Global Refugee Forum progress today, let us ensure that refugees with disabilities are not left behind, not in assistance, not in opportunity, not in crisis, and not in future we are building together today. On behalf of the Association of Refugees with Disability, ARD, I reaffirm our dedication to advocating for dignity, equality,